Okay, let's have a look at dividing decimals and how we do it. But first of all, we're going to talk about some important terms. 18 divided by 3 equals, well, we could do that using our division sort of algorithm. How many times, in other words, does 3 fit into 18? This bit we call the dividend. Okay, the number that we're being divided into is called our dividend. The number that we're doing the dividing with is called our divisor. And the answer we call the quotient. Okay, those terms are important because I'm probably going to use them a bit through this video, and it's a little bit of a long one, so buckle up. Could be here for a while because there's a few variations on this. Not hard, just there's a few little things to look out for. Calculate this, 7.23 divided by 3. I'm going to write it out using my normal division algorithm. And I'm going to, the most important thing with any of these, the very first thing you should always do is just take your decimal point and put it back in directly above where it was. So you'll see here I've got it written up above because everything else is going to be sort of referenced or related around that point. Okay. And I say to myself, all right, 3 goes into 7 how many times? Well, twice with 1 left over. 3 into 12 goes 4 times with 0 left over. 3 into 3 goes 1. There's no remainder. I'm done. Ta-da! 2.41 was the answer. Didn't need a calculator, didn't need a computer, didn't need Google. We just did it using our basic understanding of division. And I'm not going to go over that. I went through the division fairly quick, but you can check that out in other videos if you need to, if you've forgotten how to do the basic division algorithm. So 2.41. Okay, so importantly here, remember, in this instance, always align this decimal point. Okay, always put it above where it started. That's the first one. What about this one? 7.24 divided by 3. All right, so what about this one? 7.24 divided by 3. Almost the same as the other one, slightly different. This is 7.24, and that's going to have an impact on our answer in a moment. We'll have a look. Everything else we do the same. 7.24, put the decimal point, align it. 3 into 7 goes twice with 1 remainder. 3 into 12 goes 4 times with 0 remainder. 3 into 4 goes once, but I've got a remainder. Where do I put it? How do I do this? Remember, we can always add trailing zeros after at the end, like a decimal point. So anything after a decimal point, so not an integer. I couldn't just write 7, put a 0 to be 70, but I could write 7.0. So after the decimal point, we can always put trailing zeros on the end. I'm going to do that to make a bit of space. Now I've got somewhere to put my remainder because I had 1 remainder. Here's a few extra zeros. Doesn't matter how many I put in there. So now I've got space to put my 1 remainder. It goes in here, okay, because I had 3 into 4 goes once with 1 remainder, and I just continue on. 3 into 10 goes 3 times with 1 remainder. 3 into 10 goes 3 times with 1 remainder, yada, yada, yada. It goes on and on and on. You'll see that that's what we call a recurring decimal. That pattern would just go on forever. Now, I'm not going to write it forever because that would be painful. So I'm going to write it as 2.413, but because the 3 is a repeater, I have to indicate that by using the little repeat symbol or recurring symbol. So I write it as 2.413 with this little symbol over the top of 3 to indicate that really the 3 goes on and on and on. So little tip from this example is you can add as many trailing zeros as you want. Okay, so I had to add some trailing zeros to allow me to have space to put my remainders. You can do that, okay? Excellent. Calculate 0.0234 divided by 4. Now, these look hard, right? We don't go to the calculator. You can do these without it, and the skill in doing it is really great practice for working with numbers. Nothing's changed. Write it out as our algorithm. Put the decimal point, align the decimal point. 4 into 0 goes 0 times, and there's 0 remainder, okay? So if it doesn't fit, we put a 0. Okay, and there's no remainder here. Same again, I've got 4 into this 0 goes 0 with no remainder. 4 into 2 goes 0, but I have 2 remainder. Okay, so into 0 there's no remainder, but trying to put 4 into 2 goes 0 times, but the 2 now becomes my remainder. So I carry my 2 here as a remainder, and I say, well, 4 into 23 goes 5 times with 3 remainder. 4 into 34 goes 8 times with 2 remainder. I've got nowhere to put my remainder, so I'm going to add. You got it, a trailing 0. Now I can go 4 into 20 goes 5, and there's no remainder. I can stop. We're done. 0.00585. Well done. Okay. So the little tip here, the little takeaway from this example is place a 0 if the divisor doesn't fit. So up here when I tried to do 4 into 0, didn't fit, so I put the 0. Didn't fit, so I put the 0. 4 into 2 didn't fit, so I put the 0. Okay. I think we've got one more. Calculate, maybe 2 more. 62.316 divided by 0.03. 0.03, that's different to what we've been working with. The last few examples have always had like an integer there. Guess what? We can turn this into an integer. Okay, I'm going to move the decimal point 2 places, and now I'm just going to work with 3. Now that I've moved it 2 decimal places on the right side of my division sign, I've got to do the same on the other side. I've got to balance them out. Okay, otherwise it'd be all out of whack. So now I can move my decimal point. I've moved this one 2 places. This one I moved 2 places. Now I can go ahead and do it just like we did the others. Okay, I'm just going to fly through this. I align the decimal point. 3 into 6 goes twice. 3 into 2 goes 0 with 2 remainder. 3 7s are 21, so I've got 7 times with 2 remainder. 3 into 21 goes 7 with no remainder. And 3 into 6 goes twice. 2077.2. So the takeaway from this example, make the divisor an integer first, and the other part we did, make sure we move the decimal the same number of places on the other side in our dividend. Oh, and that was it. There you go. There wasn't another one. So hopefully you can see just with those couple of rules, and go back. I know this has been a long video, but go back if you're not sure, have a look at some of the things we did. There's a couple of little things to watch out for when you're doing these. The processes are all the same. You just need to know some of those little tricks. All right, well done.